What is up, guys? This is Mekkah, and today I'm going to show off this ranking resource tool that I made for you to use if you want to. The link is in the description. And this video is going to be used to explain how it works. So if you saw Mangs' ranked run on FE7, you probably saw that he failed because he didn't plan enough. Like he just kind of went with the flow. He didn't really plan out his run. And if you want to S-rank this game, you actually do have to do a little bit of planning to make sure that you will succeed at your goals. And one of the reasons that you need to do planning instead of being able to go with what the game tells you is because what the game tells you is bullshit. The ranking screen is pretty spectacular, but it's also pretty useless because it uses requirements that are really flawed. For example, if it wants to know how much tactics ranks you have at chapter 16, it will add up all the tactics requirements for the previous chapters and then compare that to your turn count, and if you're below, then you're not at 5 stars. But the requirements for pretty much every rank, but mostly tactics, are really bullshit because there's 0 requirement chapters in there, like 11 and 15. They forgot to put in values for all Hector mode exclusive chapters, so these are all zeros. And then some are also really high, like for example chapter 28X has a 28 turn requirement, which is really hilarious when you think about it. So you can't really rely on the in-game screen to tell you how you're doing, and instead you need to do your own planning, and that's what this tool is for. What you need to keep in mind when planning a S-rank run is the total amount that you need to get. So for tactics, this is 317 turns. This is all the tactics requirements for 5 stars added up together. That makes for 317 turns, so as long as you beat the game within that time, you're good. Now, fortunately, I did a projection of how much time you will usually need to beat the game when you're a little bit conscious about your turn count but not LTCing. So this is turn counts that I think every player can reach if they've played the game before. And those are these turn counts, and as you can see, this projects to be about 250 turns. So you have like 60 to 70 turns left over to do whatever you want, get EXP or get items. And so you'll know that there's like no reason to like spend an entire reset or something on one chapter because you failed to save 1 or 2 turns. You have way too much time on your hands to not S-rank tactics, so don't worry about it. Tactics is going to be fine. By the way, for this sheet, I'm assuming that you go to Lloyd's version of 4-Flanked Offense and to chapter 27 Kenneth version. For one, because they're just the easiest to reach, and they're also the easiest to play, I think. But I did put their requirements in here just in case you want to add them in. You should copy and paste this whole spreadsheet to your own Google Drive and toy around with it. You can't edit the one that I've put on public viewing for obvious reasons, but you can just copy it and use it for yourself. So that's this sheet in a nutshell, or at least the tactics part. I also did the same for EXP and funds. I added up all the requirements to see what you need to have at the end of the game. And if you add up all the EXP, you'll see that you need like 39,750 EXP, or about 400 levels, which is pretty daunting. And as for funds, just adding them up doesn't really tell you enough. The game only needs you to get 80% of the total requirements to get a 5-star in funds at the end. So that's why you'll see me throw around 80% a lot when it comes to funds, because this is not the number you need to get at the end of the game. This is the number. If at the end of the game your inventory plus liquid gold adds up to this number, then you're good. You've got your 5-star funds in the bag. So that's the main tab. Let's talk about funds for a little bit. I made a new tab for that. So for funds, you need to make a budget, basically. You need to know how much money you get and how much you get to spend. So that's what I did. I went over every chapter on Fire Emblem WOD to find the most valuable items in the game. Made a list of them. Then I checked their values and I put them in here. And I added them up for every chapter so that you know just how much value you get out of every chapter. And then logic dictates that if you add up every one of these values, you get a huge number. That's like all the money you get in the game. Now, this doesn't take you into account small number of money like iron weapons, vulneraries, etc. But this is most of the money in the game. So you can be reasonably sure that this is the amount of money you have to work with. Of course, you might not get all these items. You might miss 1 or 2 somehow. So that's why you need to edit it for your own to make sure it works for you. Just take away these values right here. So if you take away the 8,000s right here, the numbers should adjust. See, it just adjusted. So also assuming you're skipping 19XX because it's bullshit, but it's also 0 requirement chapter, so it doesn't matter much, and I didn't even bother putting in the values because I don't think anyone plays 19XX. So you've got your value, and if you add up these fund requirements again, you get the same number as before. It's like 800,000 gold. That's what you need, and you get like over 100,000. So or like 1 million actually. So if you subtract that one number from another, you get the number of money, or the amount of money you get to spend, the amount of gold that you have left over. This is what you need to buy your weapons off. This is what you need to buy your promo weapons off, basically. So one promo item, for example, costs like 10,000 gold, and this is your budget for that kind of purchases. So this is also the number you need to use to check if you can afford to promote darts or recruit Farina, that kind of thing. So this is how you plan your budget, basically. It doesn't take into account arena money, which is quite a lot, especially because of the silver card, which will double any cash money. The silver card is also why any money after 19x is worth double in the spreadsheet. So for example, the 10,000 gold from Kinship's Bond right here is doubled to 20,000 because you can use the money to buy items that are basically twice that value. Okay, so let's talk about item values for a little bit. I made this tab for my own convenience because I was compiling the list of items you get in every chapter and their worth. And so you can use this tab to check how much the item you got is worth. It's quicker than Serenus Forest because I removed all the things that are not in the game, like the emblem and poison weapons, things that you cannot obtain. And I also listed cost per use, and I took away all the things you don't really want to know. And it's also on one page, unlike SF, so this should be more convenient for you, just like it was more convenient for me. That's really all I got to say about it. But for example, if you accidentally forgot to give Vida some new weapons when you recruit her, and she used up her spear, or she used most of it, you can check how much money that costs you. Then for EXP, this is the hardest rank, and I think the one that needs the most attention, and also it's the hardest one to plan because you don't really know what's going to happen in your run. So here's the way I went about it to make it as easy as possible. First off, we got a requirement I mentioned earlier about 400 levels that you need. Now I calculated there's like 40 characters in this game, 40 something, but a lot of them either can't gain levels or can't gain very many. But somewhat a sort of conservative estimate is you need about 10 levels per character. So what I did is I estimated how many levels you can get to a character without adding them to your core team. So these are just levels you should feed to a character by trying to snipe for EXP with them whenever possible. So for Eliwood, for example, it means that sometimes he's like force deployed, so you try to feed him a couple of kills. Sometimes you deploy him when you think there's a chance to. Same goes for the character like Rebecca or Dorcas. You just field them when you can, and when you can get them some EXP. And you're gonna have to do this a lot. You can't just keep fielding high-level units all the time and beating chapters as soon as possible, as easily as possible. You need to get some EXP, because otherwise you're gonna get a 3-star EXP rank like Manx. This means that most unpromoted units that you get, they need to get about 10 to 12 to 15 levels or something. It's annoying, but it's the way it is, and it's what makes ranking so challenging, and in a way it's what makes it fun. So this is what I think is the minimum you can do reasonably without like hardcore training them, I guess. I did estimate some weird things like Raven getting 20 levels because I assume most people will want to promote Raven. But then in addition, you need some extra levels because this estimate only gets you like 350, 360 levels. But then your core team is also going to level up further. These are the people that you'll promote and use to get things done, like killing bosses and killing tough enemies, getting to places quickly, fulfilling side objectives. So say you're using Fiora full time and you're promoting her. For example, she can probably get to level 17 before promoting, getting another 10 levels. That's my estimate, but again, this is something that requires flexibility, so just change this in your own sheet, see what you think you can do. I made some notes on each of these characters about things like promotion costs and EXP bonus and other advantages to training them, like being able to get Carla. I assumed you wouldn't get Carla for this thing, so I gave her 0 XP, for example, but you can adjust just as you like. Yeah, so that wraps up the explanation, I think. It's still going to be quite a tough nut to crack if you want to S-rank this game, but at least it should be a little less tedious and a little less on the fly with this. I think this is a lot easier to plan with than the SF tables. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you around. Bye.